Hi everyone, welcome back to Off the Cuff with me, your host Kaylin. I'm excited to be back today and I have some big news. I think next Sunday I'm going to get on here. I have big news to share with you guys and I want to talk about the direction in which the channel is going. So I'm really excited to share that with you, but I don't want to give anything away, so I'm going to stop there. But today we're talking about relationships, dating, and marriage. So, to understand the relationships in my life, you have to understand one fundamental thing about me. I am unapologetically myself. And what I mean by that is that I'm honest, I'm raw, and I don't tend to sugarcoat things. It's an aspect of my personality that tends to be polarizing. It's something that people either really love and appreciate about me or they don't like me. And that's completely okay too. Everyone is entitled to their opinion. So let's get into the relationships. And what I mean by that is family and friends, so not romantically. So we'll start with friends. Like I said, I've always been honest and I've always spoken freely to my friends about the unsuccesses that I've had with intimacy and PIV. But I was also really willing to share when things were going right. I've always been an open book. It's always been who I am. I don't know why, but it is just something about me. And I've always been that way. I will probably always be that way. So with my friends, like I said, I've always spoken freely about my experiences, but even before intimacy was even part of my life, a lot of my friends knew that, in middle school and high school, that tampons weren't really an option for me. It wasn't something that I was ever ashamed of. It was just something that I was going through, and I hoped one day it would be fixed. I didn't know at the time how I was going to go about doing that. But a lot of times, even telling your friends and stuff, and them trying to offer the best support that they can, when someone doesn't resonate exactly with what you're going through, it's kind of hard to understand the support that your friend may need. And sometimes it's just the ear to listen to. And a lot of times it feels very isolating, like you're going through this big piece of your life that's missing alone. And it was really ironic because about 9 months ago, I had met a girl that actually lived in my same city going through vaginismus, just like I had, and she actually found me in the support group and she reached out to me, and we lived in the same city and we met for coffee, and I was very open and honest with her as a perfect stranger what my experiences were like, and she was pretty open with me too, and now I consider her one of my really close friends. I was able to introduce her to my pelvic floor therapist, and I'm someone that I think that she can go to, and I can also go to her, and she's not as open about it as I am, which is completely fine. Everybody handles things in their own way. And I feel very lucky that she shares such an intimate part of her life with me. And a lot of you may feel very isolated, but you never know how close in proximity someone can be going through exactly what you're going through. And it's not impossible, and I'm really happy with the relationship that her and I have, and it definitely adds an element to our friendship that I haven't been able to experience with other friendships in my life, so it's very unique. So with my friends, I've always been honest, and not much is different when you talk about the family dynamic, especially when it comes to my mom and my two older sisters. I had always told them about my experiences. I wasn't met with compassion a lot of times. They didn't understand what I was going through. They really didn't offer the emotional support that I needed, which I don't fault them. If you don't understand, then you just don't understand. Luckily, I had a partner and that really supported me. And I'm also extremely close with my dad. And I know some people would rather die than tell their dad anything of their intimate life. I know that that's something that's really unique. My mom moved to Florida when I was 12 years old, and I moved in with my dad full time. So he had to handle me at very delicate years. Not that I didn't know about puberty and what was going to be going on with my body, but we never really talked about that stuff. But I did tell him when I was an adult and I was living with my then boyfriend, now husband, of our intimate struggles. And I think my dad was shocked that I had been going through it, because I think a lot of people were assuming that we were having sex like any normal high school couple. It's not very common that a high school couple makes it all 4 years throughout high school not having sex, but we did make it through not doing that. I don't think my dad was extremely shocked to hear of the condition, because he had been around women that weren't able or talked about sex being painful for them. So I actually felt more recognized when I was talking to my dad. And him and I have always had a very positive relationship. He's someone that I've always been able to go to. And I'm glad that, talking about my intimate life, but obviously not going into great detail, I had someone to turn to. And he's always been that for me. And I'm glad that the topic didn't change the support that I had. So moving on, so let's talk about dating. So for me, and this is where a lot of people and I will differ, because I had got with my husband when I was 15 years old. So any type of dating that I had before him, it probably wasn't going to reach that level of intimacy, and I didn't understand the magnitude of the condition and how much it affected me. And I think that it probably had gotten worse throughout my high school years. It probably didn't take such a hold until later on. So I didn't really need to disclose any of that, because those relationships weren't going to reach that level of intimacy, probably, with only being together for weeks or months. I was not someone that was going to do that at a young age and give my body that way to somebody. But I know that a lot of people that are watching are probably older, maybe in their late teens, early 20s, late 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. And a lot of the common question that I see is, when do I tell someone, when we're talking, that I disclose that I have this condition? And you can take my advice with a grain of salt, because like I said, I'm pretty rusty in the dating scene. I've been with my husband for almost 10 years now. But I would say to tell them when you feel like you're going to reach that intimate level and you feel comfortable and you have that open communication and trust with that person to share that kind of information with. It's not an all-size-fits-all kind of thing. It's when you feel comfortable. But I definitely wouldn't leave someone blindsided or hoping that the night that you guys finally are intimate that it'll all of a sudden work, because I think a lot of times both people are left disappointed. It may not always be the case, but I think that transparency and honesty is always the best way to go. And I just want to reiterate that PIV and intimacy, it is something that is supposed to enhance your relationship, not make the relationship. And a lot of times we do this thing where we connect our body's ability or inability to our self-worth. And I want to encourage you that anybody is more than what their body can or cannot do. I never allowed what I wasn't able to do in the bedroom to determine how I felt about myself. I know I have a great personality. I'm funny. I'm fun to be around, I think. And I'm so much more than that. And obviously my husband's seen that too, because we were together for 7.5 years before we were ever able to achieve PIV. He had proposed to me before we had ever had PIV. Luckily, we were able to be intimate for the first time about 6 months prior to when we got married. So we were able to achieve that before we got married. But even if we weren't, I don't think that it would have changed. And in fact, I know that my husband loves me for me and not for the extra bonuses that we can do now. I know that his love is unwavering for me. And I know that we can make it through any type of adversity that we are faced with. And being able to face something so complex as not being able to be intimate, in a time of your life where you really do want to be intimate with someone, it adds a fundamental strength to the foundation of the relationship. And I firmly believe that my husband and I can get through pretty much anything together. So now let's segue into marriage as our last part. So for married couples and even people that are in serious relationships or engaged even, I think keeping open and honest communication is important. It's important to let your partner know how you feel, but it's also important to understand that there's a whole nother side to this that your partner is going through, that they're not actively going through not being able to do something, but having to stand by and watch and being respectful of their emotions and what they go through. It's not always just about us all the time. We really have to consider our partner and how they feel. Being able to keep your mind open to new things, whether you can't achieve PIV, but being able to do other things that bring on intimacy, massages, a heart-to-heart conversation, kissing, touching, caressing, being able to stimulate your mind throughout the day, sending flirty texts. A lot of times you were stimulated in the mind first, and that can transpire to the bedroom. And it's more fun that way, and you're more in the moment when you're mentally able to be there. Also, making time for one another, even though we're juggling a lot. Some people are parents. Some people are taking care of their elderly parents. I mean, there's a wide range of things. People are busy, but making sure that you put a little bit of time aside for you and your partner is so, so important. Even if it's just sitting down and talking about your day or talking about things that made you happy or upset throughout the month. It's so important to do these little check-ins every now and again. And never allow someone to use sex as a leverage against you or making you do something that you don't want to do. And I know that people are probably like, well, that's common sense. But you'd be surprised how much things go awry. And we hear these things and we know these things, but we don't always act that way in our life. And that's kind of where we are. So that's relationships, dating, and marriage. If there's any questions or anything that I can touch on, I'd be more than happy to do that in the next video. Again, the next video, big announcement and where we're going with this channel. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you guys next time.